Hello everyone, Ronan back, and today we're going to be doing a different kind of video. It's Band-Maid related, but we're going to be checking out the Zemaitis Factory Tour, which Miku from Band-Maid is also a guest there, and I guess she's kind of tagging along with this walkthrough. And to be honest, Zemaitis, while I do know some things about Zemaitis, I've never really checked out their factory tour before, and I would be interested in seeing how they do things and checking out all the woods that they use and what their process is, and maybe even get a little bit of insight to see what they did with her guitar, which I believe was called the Flappy Pigeon, something like that, and which sounds like something that they would do. But yeah, I'm excited to check it out and kind of get nerdy. So.
あとはギターを始めたのがバンドメイドを始めたのがきっかけでギターを始めたんですけど、ゼマイティスをすぐ持ち始めて、とてもゼマイティスに思い入れが強かったっていうのもあるので、ぜひゼマイティスでコバトのギターをいつかは作りたいなっていうふうに思ってたんですけど、そこにお話をいただいたので、ぜひとも作りたいです。すごい。ここがまあうちの
Here we got all the woods, it looks like.
すごい。木がいっぱい。これがギターになるわけですね。
全部ギターになるだけ。はい。まあこちらにあるのがまあゼマイティスでよく使うエボニーっていう
ebony fingerboards.
はい。指板材。
こんな最初から真っ暗なんですかね。
はい。これはもうそうなんだ。
They mentioned the color of ebony is typically black, but you can see that there are some stripes in the wood grain there, and that's pretty much due to the ebony shortage that we had run into some years ago. So in order to, preserve or at least use all of the resources that we had, we ended up having to also use the ebony fingerboards that had the colored stripes on there, because typically ebony boards, we are very used to them just looking straight black on our fingerboards. So we needed to be more environmentally conscious about that and just use all the resources we could rather than just throwing out all the wood that had some discolorations in it. African mahogany, so that's probably for the body. So the most common woods that you would see for guitar bodies would be
倍以上違いますか？倍ぐらい？
実際のところここの数値に 3.7 キロと 6.7 キロ。
本当だ、3キロも違う。すごい。
So more dense wood there. So the most common woods you would see on a guitar would either be mahogany or rosewood. Tonally speaking, rosewood gives you a bit more of a warmer sound, whereas mahogany kind of is a bit of a lighter sound. It's more of a mid-range based wood. You can get higher density mahoganies. There's more than one type of mahogany out there, so you can get mahogany that's a little bit warmer than what's typically used. But typically speaking, it's the more mid-range tonal wood versus rosewood. On electric guitars, this has like a little bit of an effect on it. With guitars, there's a bit more of a leeway there because you can always voice your pickups a certain way. But tone woods do technically have a little bit of an impact on how your guitar responds. And then also there's the amplifier, which is the other half of that too. So every little bit contributes to what gets produced out of your guitar, right down to the fingers that are using the guitar itself.
全然違いますもんね。なんでこんな違うんですか？
同じ材料なんですけど、やっぱり木のそれぞれの木の質だったりとか、取る場所によってこういう差が
こんなに変わるんですかね。確かにこれは音が変わっちゃうっぽ。
そうですね。
It sure will. Yep.
その同じ名前の材料とはいえども、それこそ違うギターになってしまう可能性がある。
That's very true too. builders have to be very conscious about the weight of the wood, the density of the wood, because depending on where you cut the tree, so let's say if you cut on a higher part of a tree, that will be less dense than a lower part of the tree because the lower part of the tree is actually supporting much more weight. So it has to be more dense than a higher part of the tree, even though same part of the tree, you can produce different results from depending on where you cut on the tree. So builders have to be very knowledgeable about that on a piece of wood that they're using for their guitar.
次にギターの材料を見た後に今度加工していく話です。まあ先ほど見てもらったこういうねスーピースの材料があるんですけど、こういうのを
すごいこんなところ入れるのすごい贅沢
I've been in the Gibson custom shop factory. That was a trip, just seeing Les Pauls all over the place. It's pretty overwhelming, yeah.
自体は厚みだったりとかまだ形に全然ならないので、ここからちょっと形にしていきます。まずは厚みを揃えるっていう仕事を軽くちょっとやるので、一旦外に出ましょう。音が出ます。
Yeah, I'm sure it's very loud.
これはこの機械の下側に刃物が回ってて、皮をめくっていく感じです。
すごいカンナみたいなこととね。そうです。
I would like to point out just how nice and clean this factory is too. I love how polite she is. Of course, I think I would be the same because I'm just like, I don't know what I'm authorized to do here. And I wouldn't want to get in the way of anything. She probably feels the same way. That one looks kind of Telecaster-ish. Because the waist on that body looked a little wider than usual, so it kind of gave me a little bit of a Telecaster vibe. But the cutaway is a bit sharper than what a Tele is, so that's definitely their own thing. That's the thing that's hard about guitars is that a lot of the early models that were made back then in the mid 50s and mid to late 50s, we're still using those bodies today. So guitars are kind of one of those things that we got right the first time, just about. So it's extremely hard for a newer builder to come along and do something a little different that doesn't copy what was already done. So the wheel has been invented, and it's really hard to just try to make a different wheel. Yeah, checking the straightness of the neck angles, probably checking radiuses as well. This is about as meticulous as I expected, considering it's also, at least the Zemaitis custom shop is in Japan, so I expected it to be on this level. So far, I am pleased.
なのでもうこの時点で楽器としての精度もすでに始まってる。
なるほど。すごい。
で、まあこう見てもらうと分かるんですけど、もう隙間が。あ、
本当。すごい。すごい一歩だって隙間が全くない。何かで止めてるわけでもないんですもんね今。
そうです。手で少しでも隙間を作らないように接着できるように作ってます。
細かいですね。
Interesting.
正直安いギターとかだと、結構この辺を雑に強力な接着剤でくっつけてしまえば、
なるほど。くっつきはしますよね。
なっちゃうんですけど、やっぱうちのギターはこういう細かいところまで全部すべての面が綺麗にサイズ通り合うように、最後は手作業で。
So it's glued in, it's not bolted in. I may be inaccurate in this, but that's not a set neck, right? So, because it's glued in. So you can either have like a set neck or a bolt-on neck, which typically will have a plate on the back with 4 bolts in it, or 3 bolts depending on what guitar you're talking about. But looks like they glued theirs in, and I guess we just expect the neck to just be straight the whole time. There's also a metal rod inside the neck called the truss rod, and that's something that you can adjust because this is a piece of wood, so over time, you know, it's going to get exposed to the elements like humidity and things like that, and wood will shift. So you have a metal rod in the middle that goes up through the neck that you can twist left or right, and that'll tighten the tension of the neck and allow it to either turn, or your neck, the neck can actually bow at some points, or have an underbow. So that rod is in there to ensure that you can do some upkeep with the guitar and make sure that the fingerboard is flat at all times. So it's something that's just part of the nature of the beast when owning a guitar.
そうした後にまたそうやって磨いて、
はい、さらに面っていうのはその表面をきれいに整える。
機械じゃないんですよね。
機械じゃないです。何回もやります。
大変。
That's cool that they do that by hand. Because those of you that haven't tried a Zemaitis before are really... I'll just talk about Japanese guitars in general. The way they feel versus an American guitar is that American guitars, first off, you know, those of us Americans here, we should be very proud of what our history has brought to the music world, because there are no better guitars than American-made guitars, and that's we're talking like, you know, Spanish guitars for Spanish music and things like that. But so there are a few exceptions in the guitar world, but when it comes to electric guitars, America's number one. And close second would be Japan. And though the difference in feel between the two is that Japan typically, to me, feels a bit not like it was made on a conveyor belt, but just it feels like it was done by not by hand. It feels like it was done by a machine. And there are certain aspects of guitars that just need to be done by machine, and actually in some cases are better to have done by a machine. Like if you're putting in like your frets with a Plek machine, that's always going to be better than by hand because it's precision based at that point. But I'm happy to see that there is more of an element of hands-on versus just having a machine do most of this stuff, because it's very it's like their guitars are made like too accurately, I guess is like the best way to put it. There's not like a natural feel to it in my hands. If you had to nitpick between an American guitar and a Japanese guitar, there's undoubtedly a different feel between the two. But for sure, in terms of build quality, Japan does an amazing job at building their guitars. She's being very careful. That's funny.
楽しいけど大変だなっていうのがよくわかりますと。ありがとうございます。あまりやりすぎてしまうと、なんか小鳩が汚くなってしまいそうで。ありがとうございます。
さっき磨いてもらったのがこういう感じで、
これになるんですか？
そう、吹きつけるとこういう。
なんかピカピカになった。
So I mean, it basically is a set neck then, I guess, right?
管理シュってやってみましょうか。
いいんですか、ポ？あ、
そうです。
楽しい。
それをこう横にこうシュッと動かしてみてください。もうちょっと強く握る。そうです。それをここにめがけて一定の距離でこう十分やってみてください。そうですそうです。
色が違う。
変わっている。
すごい。色がつけてるわけではないんですかね。
この作業は今回やってるのは色というよりトップのコーティングクリア透明の。
I'm just noticing her hair color. I think that's really cool what she's done with her hair.
そうですそうです。同じです。今これまさにトップコートです。
艶出しみたいなことですかね。
はい、そうですそうです。
すごい。でもトップコート塗るだけでこんなに。
That's a cool look for a guitar, though. I like how that guitar looks.
全然色が違うと。
今回の小鳩さんの仕様は
I'm noticing I'm like turning my head to see if I can see better.
すべてのボディの全体にこういう金属の細かいシールールって、よく台所用とかでも使うんですけど、
ゼマイティスさんのギターの艶消しが
Yeah,
さらっ
matte
として
finish.
そうですね。
ツヤツヤしてるので
So in other words, the guitar is going to have a smooth, it's going to have a smooth feel to it.
これ
Very
ちょっ
nice.
と番外なんですけど、
わあ
貝を
Which I think is a smart choice, being that they also use ebony fingerboards. Those of you that don't know, ebony fingerboards tend to have an extremely smooth feel just to begin with, whether they, do something to it or not.
これだって1枚じゃないですかね。
これを1枚ず
So
つ磨いて
is that
で
abalone?
貼っていくっていう感じですね。
Yeah,
す
there's
ご
a
い。
so it's an abalone ring going around it, and looks like mother of pearl.
ある程度の目標ができるようにまずカット
なるほど
してます。だけどこの状態だと切り口がまだ
Could
汚
be
いので
pearl or
あの
mother of
機械を
pearl
回しながら
for the rest of that. That's what it looks like anyway. It's hard to tell. I don't think they've mentioned exactly what it is. I was trying to keep up with the reading.
全然違う。綺麗になりましたこう。
正面から見ても綺麗な
確かに全然違いますもんね。
それを順番に
順番に
貼っていく。外から順番に貼っていきます。
気が遠くなるこうパズル。
From what I've seen, this is kind of like an alternative look for Zemaitis. The classic look is having the aluminum front. Otherwise, they bump it up a notch by doing this.
違う形なので全部そのここのピースはこの形っていうのを作っていくんですよ。一個ずつ
大変合わせて作っていくんですかね。
そうです。
もうだってこんな形のとこ作るの気が遠くなるっぽむしろ高級にしないとダメっぽ
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be very expensive.
見てもらうと分かるんですけど、機械を回しながら当てがって
すごい
艶を出していくっていう作業です。
なんか生き物に見えてきました優
優しく当てていく感じですね。
なるほど。すごいっぽ。
Yeah, that probably looks real clean.
これも一個一個やっていくんですかね。作業でこうやられてるっていうのは聞いてたんですけど、ここまで一個一個作業とは思わなかった。
ちょっと一回それ見たら立てる。
Yeah, each guitar will pass through many hands, unless it is a. Typically, if you get on a master build level, then you start getting in, and that's pretty much the only way a guitar will just be in one person's hands. You just have one master builder building the guitar from the ground up. Otherwise, usually custom shop level guitars are gonna pass through a lot of different stages. People that just specialize in doing that particular thing.
でもなんかもういろいろ知ったら見え方が違うっぽすごい。
It's a pretty guitar. I don't think it's gonna be as heavy. Well, I'm gonna stick with 8 pounds. Maybe like 8.2 pounds or something like that.
っていう気持ちがとても強くなりましたし、こうやって出来上がってみて、もう本当に感動と嬉しさで。やっぱりこう一番は小鳩のシグネチャーっていうのが分かるように一目で分かるようにっていうのをしたかったので、ゼマイティスらしいそのメタル側を残しつつこういうバラだったりとかボディのこういうデザインを入れさせていただいて、
Yeah, those inlays in the body are really nice. That was a nice touch.
わがままを言って
There's not a. I don't think there's any other Zemaitis that does that.
デザインはお知り合いのデザイナーさんの竹内さんとが手書きでこの MK ゼマイティスっていうギターフルポーって書いてたりとか、もうフラットカバーの
The Zemaitis in the center of the body. That's a typical thing on any Zemaitis. So that's just their stamp
たくさんの
basically.
ところにこだわりを詰めた 一つになっております。ぜひともたくさんの方に弾いていただいて、コバトと一緒にギターを愛してもらえたらいいなと思います。よろしくお願いします。
Very cool. Yeah, I'll probably end up like condensing me watching through it quite a bit, because there are moments where I'm just kind of sitting there like not saying a whole lot, just trying to take it in, and you know, they're pretty relaxed about the tour and everything like that. It's not extremely technical. It's just kind of like, hey, this is a fun day, let's just check it out, and these are all the different stages your guitar goes through from beginning to end, and that's really cool. So it was really cool seeing the where they keep all their wood, and them actually at least showing her the blocks of wood that the guitar is going to be made out of. That's always an interesting aspect of the guitar, is what sort of wood you're using, how heavy it's going to be, how they source it, and how they end up choosing which piece of wood that's going to go on the guitar, is how that's all going to work. So it's all really fascinating. You know, for a lot of players, you would think more players would know a bit more about what makes the guitar do what they do, and it's okay that they don't, because I mean, at the end of the day, you just want your guitar to sound cool, look cool, all that stuff. So, and if that's good enough for you, then that's perfectly fine. I think for all the gearheads, they manage to, at some point of the day, ask themselves, why do I like this? Why do I like this sound? There's an explanation for all of it, and it's really cool in that regard, because you start to, whenever I was in the industry, I would always describe it as kind of like a Harry Potter thing, and it's like, oh yeah, you don't choose the guitar chooses you, and you know, and it wasn't like total like me blowing smoke up people's asses. It's really when you find out like why you like the sound that you like, and then you find out what sort of tone woods help you get there, or which pickups get you there, you start questioning or analyzing what's making your experience playing the guitar so great, and then it's also good to explore and try different types of guitars to see, you know, if you like those more, or if you don't, and if you don't, why? Because everybody's different, everybody has different hand sizes, and so neck shapes can change a lot. So even that alone, it might lead you towards a different guitar just based off of the shape of the neck, because that can definitely make or break a guitar player's experience. But it's definitely a very deep subject that you can get into. I won't go too deep into it now, because I like to be able to have like a visual representation. So I try to go over as much as I could as things were being shown to me, if I can, you know, if it sparked any memories or anything I could talk about. But that was cool. I enjoyed that. Factory tours are always pretty fun, especially if it's from a brand that you're interested in, or just, you know, fantasize of owning one of their guitars. But it was cool that they brought her along too, because they were able to at least facilitate a bit of an educational kind of journey through it, and kind of teach her a little bit of it. As someone who is as skilled as Miku is, you know, it goes back to me saying that there's a lot of musicians that don't know the technical side or the nerdy side of, you know, what makes a guitar do what it does. And you can tell she's just like a kid in the candy store, and she knows how to pick up one of them and just destroy with it. But in terms of just knowing what it's made out of, why is that what she likes about it, you know, and analyzing that, you can tell that she hasn't quite dove into that aspect of it. But that's okay, because she seems like a young person and has plenty of time to figure it out, if she would ever be interested in doing that. And so, but it took me, you know, just as reference, it took me, I think, 10 years to even ask my first question of why do I like what I like? Because I was the same way. I was just like, yeah, I don't care like what it's made out of. Just, does it sound cool? You know, and if that's enough for you, then that's perfectly fine. You know, you don't have to know all this stuff. Just if you do know this stuff, it can inform you on being a better shopper when it comes to looking for your next guitar, because then you know exactly what you're looking for. Just don't be like those. I think some of the most pain in the ass questions I would get would be something like, what's the neck depth? You know, things like that. Oh, if it's, you know, this deep, but not that deep, it's not for me. And it's like, huh, you know. so there is definitely like an extreme side of it too. So but you know, people want what they want, and you know, if it gets, and you know, and in their defense, a guitar is an investment and it's expensive. So if you're gonna pay that much, why not get exactly what you want, you know? So I guess I can't talk too much shit about that, because you know, I could probably be the same way about other things, you know. So but anyway, I had fun checking this out. I hope you did too. I hope I was able to be informative and tell you something new that you didn't know, or just enjoyed my journey through it. So that's it for me. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to check out, other songs or whatever. Feel free to let me know, and I'll see you next time.